This is Heart of Gold, a special presentation from Trillium Realty Group. I'm Hannah Winans, broker-owner of Trillium Realty. Heart of Gold is a celebration of those who go above and beyond. Humboldt County has great people, and today we celebrate you. With this week's Heart of Gold, here's Scott Dwyer.
I'm talking today with Tina Taylor Sims, who is the Awareness Director with EPI. That stands for Empower, Protect, and Invest. Tell me a little bit about what EPI does.
So EPI is an organization here in Humboldt County that is basically like a first responder. They respond to a hotline that rings here locally. So individuals who are being trafficked, because trafficking is happening in Humboldt County, can call this line. They can get resources. We do training. We also have programs that teach young people about the lures of human trafficking so that they don't become victims, and a plethora of other things.
You had mentioned a hotline, a local number here. A lot of people, just in speaking with you before we started this interview, I've learned a ton. So the hotline number, there's a national hotline number that people can call.
There is. The Polaris Project has a national human trafficking hotline. However, you can call a local number here in Humboldt County, and it's 707-599-1415, and someone will answer that number 24 hours a day.
So let's talk about human trafficking, because I immediately think sex trafficking, but there are different types of human trafficking.
There is. There's many different forms. The forms that I see, and I believe that last I was told there might be like 27 different forms of trafficking. Wow. However, the few that I know about, especially that are happening here in Humboldt County, are labor trafficking, sex trafficking, and familial trafficking.
So let's talk about some of the differences. Obviously, sex trafficking, people know about. Labor trafficking is basically the same thing, but has to do with work.
It is. It's having to do work and not being paid, unable to leave and still having to work. There's different forms of, different things. Like I know of an individual recently that said, oh, I was only getting paid $50. Yeah, but could you leave at your will? Yeah. Did you agree to that? Yeah. Well, I'm not sure I could call that labor trafficking.
Right.
If you're forced to stay and you're not paid at all, or you didn't agree to anything, then there's a difference.
And of course, familial trafficking is all things having to do with family.
Like Uncle Bob has some rent to pay this month and he can't pay it, so he's going to sell Susie, right? Or the mom who might have an addiction and will, exploit her daughter for her benefit to be able to make that happen. It's happening in different ways. But one of the things that is all across, maybe not labor trafficking, well, yeah, I could even say that, is somewhere along the way, a grooming process has happened, right? Mm-hmm. And you start stretching an individual's boundaries to where they feel like what is happening to them is normal.
Right.
So maybe Uncle Bob might start tapping Susie on the leg and maybe getting a little closer to inappropriate areas. And Susie begins to think that's normal, right? Or the boyfriend who starts having his girlfriend watch porn or maybe invite other people in. Like that may not be so bad for people who are consenting adults, but for an adult to start incorporating this stuff to a young person, that's a process of grooming that's stretching their boundaries.
It's so important, especially for parents who may not really think about it. Think, oh, my kid's fine, here in Humboldt County. And parents should probably take some time to get online and do a little research.
Absolutely.
And people can find information about EPI on the Facebook page at EPI, or the other Facebook page, which is
Humboldt Against Trafficking.
Humboldt Against Trafficking.
Mm-hmm.
Tina Taylor Sims, the Awareness Director for EPI. Thank you so much for coming in and talking to us about this today.
Thank you for having me. Thank you for having this conversation. This is the start.
If there was one thing that you could leave with parents, what would it be?
It's a thin line, having technology in your kids' hands. The minute you hand your kids a telephone, you've removed the safety of the four walls around them. And so I tell people you can't be your kids' friends. You have to invade their privacy on telephone.
Oh, I appreciate you coming in and talking to us.
Mm-hmm.
Raise awareness, which is
Right.
what you're doing.
Exactly.
And we appreciate it so much, Tina.
Thank you for having me.
I'm Hannah Winans. You've been listening to Heart of Gold, a presentation from Trillium Realty Group. Be listening for more great features to come on the next edition of Heart of Gold.